event come and reconfigure that whole system is unlikely. That system is very solid and very, very robust, and it knows how to look after itself. It is interested in its own homeostasis. So this is just, in a sense, the psychological element, and we'll be dealing with, you know, the other elements tonight. It's on multiple dimensions. I guess the other highlight with this is that Cummins, and he's a particularly strong quality of life researcher, he proposes that they're actually genetically programmed, a lot of these, and that they're brought into action when well-being is threatened, and they're designed to protect genetically protected mood or HPD, and make us less affected by challenging circumstances. And one of the models, if you're interested, is the hedonic adaptation prevention model that enables us to habituate. And there's something annoying about the fact that we can habituate to something that's really nice in our life that we thought, you know, took a long time to get to. But again, we look at, you know, the goals research. 95+% of the time is spent in the pursuit of goal A or goal B, moving from state A to state B, and about 2 to 5% of the time is spent resting and enjoying before we move to the pursuit of goal C. And so, because part of that is that we habituate to having arrived, and it's like then there's that seeking for that which is next. Okay, I won't. If you want to read that article, it's called Non-Dual Wellbeing. Whatever else I wrote it. The predictors of enlightenment, or something like that. Basically, I'm just trying to look at how we can take some of these constructs, psychologically speaking, and expand the concepts of well-being beyond that. Tonight, what I've been call this the event-based well-being construct. In psychology, the operational definitions of subjective well-being is the typical construct, that it's made up of objective life conditions and cognitive response to those, our affect or our emotional response, and our behavioural, if you like. My critique of that, and the relevance of this, which I'll be touching on the Saturday talk, is there another way? For example, my particular area, I guess, is in mindfulness training. A lovely thing called the gap between thought. Question: when there's no thought, what's the power of those constructs that typically are running this system, protecting the system, if you like? And somewhere can we build a residence or a resting point in that gap between thought, between constructs, and what potential does that place have from a health point of view? As they say, no ego, no problem. You know, if something happens, I'm just feeling, I just don't. It's like, it's irrelevant, as they say. What is it? What do you think about my business? Whole notion, or what someone thinks of me is, you know, what's that to do with me? Because if we're not thinking that, then it's not impacting us. Relevance to that in terms of health here, I guess, is if we're having from all those constructs and there's this gap, what are the implications in terms of the body? When the body, or when the mind is completely at rest, there's a lot of research now on what that does to the body and to its ability to almost automatically and relax and refresh. So, of that on Saturday, telling us now. But specifically, we've only 20 minutes and a few more minutes to go. I'd like to just highlight that mindfulness is one of those ways that we can assist that adaptation reflex, if you like, when those events occur, because, you know, we will all get impacted at some level by something, and obviously our goal is to become increasingly more skillful and more wise as a human. And so what are our skill sets? So mindfulness, of course, is has extraordinary origins in the East in terms of in traditional mindfulness, and it's been clinically hijacked for the West, which has been amazingly helpful. But of course, it's missed some of the richness, the traditions, and specifically the goal of mindfulness traditions is enlightenment. It is actually the dissolution of the sense of self, and the health benefits of that are yet to be played in both neuroscience and also psychology, and that's what I'm exploring. But at its foundation, it is to have a clear and single-pointed neutral awareness, or what they might call neutral non-judgmental awareness in the present moment, or to again, the mindfulness thing, which is that, again, stimulus and response is where there's this, of course, if there's no gap between the stimulus and response, we have automaticity, and we're now just behaving automatically without seeing. Mindfulness, in a nutshell, tries to do is extend that gap. So now we have choice. And, like poor impulse control is about simply trying to increase that gap so the person has alternatives to the habituated response. So again, that's the relevance of it. Of course, again, a prefix that you might put to, or preface you might have to a disturbing do this, it might be just put these three words before it. I ... I can never. And it's mindfulness essentially, in a nutshell, is that ability to back, observe the narrative, an automatic narrative that has come from those constructs over decades. Impression, which are then having physiological impacts. Just that ability to do that step back and watch that mind process of that happening, and sometimes mindfulness we call thoughts passing mental events. Describing them for what they are, they're a passing mental event. They have no stamina, they don't stay, they just get replaced by another one. So that's essentially the foundations of the mindfulness work, is to develop that objectivity. And you could say it's somewhere in between neither being overwhelmed by them nor repressing, because again, do one or the other, and it's it's the third option, like to be neither of that. Of course, the advanced version, mindfulness, to step back not just from those thoughts itself, to step back and have awareness watching those thoughts and saying, wow, they're thoughts. The profound last step in mindfulness, which, if you like, we go to some of the Eastern traditions, Ramana Maharshi or the Vedanta, is not just step back awareness watching that thought, objectively, neutrally, non-judgmentally, and therefore not being affected by it, but then to do one step more, which is then to turn that awareness, as Ramana would say, to turn awareness onto awareness, and to actually watch the source of that awareness that has been watching those thoughts all the time. And of course, the source of that is intangible, and then the resting in that place. So that's, in a sense, the final stages of that work, and there are profound impacts, I believe, in terms of well-being. Okay, the thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations of the three parts, moving or intermittently moving. So we won't go into it this time, but essentially, of course, I think it's knowing the path and walking the path. And there are a range of exercises and skill sets that are always available for people to learn. I separate them into clear mind, open heart, or 5 skills in each. That's one of the articles that is behind that, and the efficacy of the 5. There we go. Of the 5, and I've separated them simply into 5 almost emotion ones: present moment awareness, neutrality, clarity, which is to not be a mystery to myself and to actually know what, across the fence shouting, "I'm not angry." It's like, well, we can hear. So this is like number 3, clarity, the ability to identify what's happening in this moment within yourself, such that they're not the ones that know. The ability to regulate attention, of course, this has profound impact on hyperactivity and ADHD, and then thought suspension, version to sit in the gap between thought, and to practice that until an emotional default as required. As I said, like a gearbox, neutral should be one of them. We don't always have to be in gear. When the mind is not required, it, like the body, doesn't have to be like a mental Tourette's. If it's not required, it can just be at rest. And then the last 5 are the openness emotionally, because we don't want to just stay cognitive. We are a thought, feeling, sensation organism. So to have the openness, acceptance, and relaxation response to life events, that ability to be fresh, and then to have that equanimity, which is a bit of that process. This person is just like me, they want to be happy. This person, just as I want to be happy, may they be happy. This person is just like me, they don't want to suffer. Just as I don't want to suffer, may they not suffer. The equanimity. So I'll pull it there. That essentially is what we've looked at. That's who I am and where you can get it. And of course, can't leave without highlighting that's coming book, which just highlights all the mindfulness processes. You can look at that on the drpatrickjones.com site if you wish. Everything we talk about here is evidence-based, and the goal is to have an impact upon people's well-being. All right, I'm done. Thank you very much.